My next guest is a bantamweight contender from Knoxville, Tennessee. He trains under Eric Turner with Knoxville MMA. You can catch his next fight, Anthony Pettis FC 9, where he'll be taking on David Evans on UFC Fight Pass. My friend Dre Miley joins me once again. Dre, welcome to the show, man. Episode number 1, and now here we are, episode 350 going on. And you've been with me this entire time, man. It's been cool to see your career grow and take off in the years I've known you.
Yeah, likewise, man. Yeah, your show has been taking off, and you've been having some really cool guests on there. Like I catch myself watching your interviews with everybody. So yeah,
Well,
man, it's crazy.
I wanted to pick up on your 2022/2023, and man, there's been a lot that's been going on lately. Like your 2022, you ended that year hot, and then like you had that opportunity with Bellator, and that was out of your hands. That fight doesn't end up materializing through no fault of your own. And then your and your most recent fight, I know that one didn't go really according to plan, but like when I think about that stretch of time, there's been a lot of factors that have been going on with you, kind of outside of your control. Not aside from the Brennan fight, but other belt cancellations. I just kind of wanted to get your take on what's the past year and a half been like for you.
It's been frustrating. I ain't gonna lie to you, it's frustrating. The whole Bellator thing, it wasn't my fault, and I think the commission had fell apart because they couldn't really prove why they could say no. So yeah, that stung a little bit, and then we tried to keep going. You know me, I'm always one that's like, well, just keep pushing forward, it's not deal with it. And I never gave myself time to grieve. I guess that's the word for the Bellator thing. I was like, oh well, it'll happen, and then constantly plugging myself and forgetting that I'm still having to fight on the regional scene. When the fights got announced, like I had the bout cancellation with David Lewis because he missed weight and that whole nonsense. Like at that point, I was like, I'm not doing this. Like you knew me and you did all these things, and then the fight wasn't going to happen the way it needed to happen because he was unprofessional as hell. And I was like, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this. And then the last fight, my pride got the best of me because I was like, I want to fight. And the guy missed weight like a lot. Like he missed the actual weight limit. So like he weighed in like 139 or something like that. Like he missed big. Didn't and he tried to cut, but it is what it is. As far as my performance that fight, it hurt because I could never catch myself coming out of that gear going in first drive. So I mean I had good solid moments in that fight, and it was one of those things where it dawned on me. I guess the silver lining through all this is, and the revelation of it all is realizing that it's never the opponent that beats me. It's never the opponent. It's always me that allows the opponent to win. And people are like, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, we were fighting, and Bo was like, it does make sense if you watch my other fights. Like when I fought Jesse Bozzi, I was ready. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go in here, mess him up, do my thing, go home. And then once that Bellator thing happened, I got excited and I was, getting ready for it. And then when it didn't happen, I was just like, well, now what? Like, what do I have to do? Like, I keep proving myself. So that weird rabbit hole happened, and the performance showed it, and I had to sit there and think to myself, like, what are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna change this? So I stopped training as hard as I needed to really get back into the mindset of like, I want to compete. Like, I don't want to just compete. I want to outshine people. So
I wanted to kind of like zoom out a little bit and hit on Bellator MMA in general, not your specific situation, but just in general. You're an MMA fan as you are a fighter. You read the reports, you've read the news, and it seems to only be a matter of time before they're acquired by the PFL. I mean, I think everyone pretty much knows it's a matter of just when is it going to happen, no longer if. And
mhm.
is it a good or a bad thing for MMA for there to not be a Bellator MMA in your opinion?
I think it's a great thing for them not to have a per se Bellator because Bellator is still that old school brand of like we want fighters to fight, and with this sport, and thanks to the UFC, they have guys and girls who are trying to sell themselves. You don't have to be good anymore. You just have to be you just have to be out there as a person, and you have to be marketable, and Bellator had those guys, but they couldn't build those guys up because they weren't social media savvy. They were still old school. I think it's a good thing. I know that they have been bought by PFL. Their PFL owns them, but they're going to run the shows all the way out to 2024 or something like that. So it's a great thing because now I feel like the UFC will have competition because the roster of Bellator rivals that of UFC, and the branding of PFL will rival that of UFC too. So I think it's a great thing. Now, what it holds for me in the future, it's probably way better because they go to the states that I am actually allowed to fight in, and more states are starting to say yes to me, which is even more great and also scary for a lot of other bantamweights too.
I don't know how to say the guy's name, but the in the last UFC pay-per-view, there's a fighter that had one eye, and he ended up winning the fight. And I'm sure you heard about that. I'm sure you saw that. And when you see somebody like that compete at that level, and then just go out there and like win a fight, elevate your spirits. You see that, and you're like, see, look at this is what I've been saying I can do for a really long time, and this guy's out here and he's crushing it.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I got tagged in so many things whenever that happened. People were talking to me, people was messaging me. I think like I shared something not too long ago where John McCarthy and Josh Thompson was talking about me from Bellator. I was like, yes. I was like, finally someone understands like what this is like. And it didn't help. I mean, it's cool that he fought with one eye, but also it didn't help that he was not in the States.
Hmm.
That was the only asterisk to it, is that he fought in Abu Dhabi, which, they do whatever they want to do over there. But it does show that it can be done. Now, should this fight, go the way it needs to and UFC gets a hold of it, that like we have our guy. He's in states, he can get here and here. And I can fight virtually anywhere.
Dre, since the last time I talked to you, you recently signed with a new management company. You're with Ed with ECB Management. I was just hoping you could tell me a little bit about how you got up with Ed and how you ended up getting involved with that management company.
Ed's been talking to me for a while. Like he'll support, like things, and I think he sent me a message like way before this happened. Was like, hey, if you're looking for a management company, I would love to manage you. Blah blah blah. I was like, well, yeah. I was like, my coaches are, the ones who handle all my fights, And I kept pushing it off, and I told my coaches about it after the Bellator thing, and they were just like, look, we can talk to him and see what happens. My coach talked to him. I guess they hit it off really well, and they ironed out some details to where it benefits both parties. And and that's how it happened. It was like he was just there. He was supporting, liking. He wasn't being too pushy. He wasn't doing any of those things. He was a really cool dude. So far so good. I mean, he has some good prospects out there. He knows some people, so it seems to be really good. Him and my coaches get along, which is it's a big thing in MMA. It's management and coaching. So far so good.
Well, that's great to hear. Can you tell me a little bit? How did this fight with David Evans and Anthony Pettis, his new promotion? How did all that come into fold for you? How long have you been training for this fight?
Well, they tried to get me on a September card, I think, and I don't think the dates matched up or something like that. Something was going on, and they talked. They was reaching out. I guess Ed had reached out to them, or something like that happened. Or I told them that my management company at the time, because that was right when it happened. We was talking. My coaches were looking at other places for fights, and I don't train for a fight. You know, it's always been that way for me. Like I've never like, oh shit, I have a fight. Okay, let's go train real hard. It's like, well, I'm gonna train hard. I'm gonna work on things, and then a fight gets announced. Cool. Now I have something to look forward to. Now I can start ironing out little details or something like that. So I never enter a camp, so to speak. It's more so just doing my thing and being comfortable in my own skin again. So yeah, he got a hold of them and they start talking numbers and he sent me the contracts and my coaches the contract. My coaches proofread everything. So they was like, we're gonna read it before we send it to you. And I was like, all right, well no. I mean, I've always trusted you guys. I've been with KMA since I was 18 years old. So I'm not gonna sit there and say no. So they did it, we got it signed up, and I was like, all right, awesome. good to fight, good to go. So I was pretty excited. The more and more it gets closer to time, the more excited I do get because he's got Nate Diaz coming, he's got Chris Angel coming, he's got Rampage, who's like the guy. At one point, I was like, before I knew Vince, I was like, Rampage trains in Tennessee. I was like, this is fucking. He's from Memphis, and I've always wanted to meet him. And I've already met Frank Mir, so I'm not really too crazy about that. But still, it's cool to see him again.
Well, it's going to be a big card, a big opportunity for you. You're going to be fighting David Evans, and when I think of David Evans, I think of wrestling right away. That's the first thing I kind of associate with him. And when I think of you, I've seen you fight several times, and you're pretty well rounded. I would call you a freestyle fighter. You fought guys like David before. When you look at him, what are some of the things that you see?
Nah, nothing too crazy. Like you said, I fought everybody that could be throwing anything at me. I fought the wrestlers. I fought the Muay Thai guys. I fought everybody. I guess the only thing that he actually has is he's pretty decent on the feet.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched him wrestle, and it's like it's not one of those things. It's like, oh, stay away from the ground. It's like, all right, whatever. That's just one of those things. I fought every single person. If I can hang in there with a striker and I can take down people that's known to do wrestling, I think I'm fine.
When I asked him about you, because David was on the show recently, he said that you're a high-level guy. He said that your experience must be respected. So he's done his homework on you, and he knows the challenge you bring to the table. And when you think about this matchup, and you think about kind of like just kind of who he is and kind of where he's at in his career, like when you look at it, like just holistically, where do you feel like you have the biggest advantage over him, aside from the obvious, aside from the experience?
I feel like the wrestling and the dirty fighting is going to be it. Like hitting angles, moving around, hitting things that he is not accustomed to being hit with. So yeah, I think his whole thing is that he's a young dude. He's got 7 fights. And I watched his fights, and I was like, okay, it's pretty decent. It's pretty good. But again, I've met and fought other people that are pretty well rounded and they're pretty good in their own specialties. Got young guys in here all the time, and hang in there with them, beat them. I mean, we all beat each other up. So I mean, it's not much of anything. Like I said, as long as I stay within myself and doing my thing, there's not much he can do. I'm grateful that he does respect me, and I do respect him as a martial artist. I respect him as a fighter. And, I'm glad he did his homework on me. So, but yeah.
It's a 15-minute fight. What do you need to do over the course of those 15 minutes to get the victory?
I need to impress the judges first of all, because I would love for this fight to get a finish. I absolutely do. I'm always gunning for a finish. But for some weird reason, it's one of those things where you have to be ready for 15 minutes. And I have to not win every minute of the fight, but I have to win the majority of the fight. So as long as you're staying smart, keeping hands up, moving, taking down, being smart on the ground, making him carry my weight, making him do the things that I want him to do, it'll land me in the way that I need to finish the fight. So,
Dre, who's going to be in your corner?
I believe Eric will be there, and I think Dan Bailey will be there.
And as you are getting ready to kind of put the finishing touches on your camp, who have been some of the main partners that you've been getting work in with?
Ooh, I've been working with everybody. So there's not been a single night where, I've tried to limit myself. I try to go with different looks, and I still try to do my stuff that I've been doing on. So it seems to be working really well. Most people I've been going with: Dan Bailey, Ricky Claybo, guys like that who have been who's been fighting, recently, and they're young and they're ambitious and they're trying to get after it. And at the same time, like I'm still young in myself, so still trying to find those guys, still doing competitive, doing things, staying calm within chaos, shit like that.
Well, we're almost done with 2023, and a win over David Evans that would put you with 11 career victories, and kind of, it is after the fight, is that the time to kind of like assess and talk to your coaches and talk to management and just kind of see what makes sense for you for 2024? Or do you already know what you want to do?
I mean, obviously, I want to go to either PFL or get on the Contender Series because hell, Robbie Ring can get on there, and Torres Fanny can get on there. But I surely can, especially having fought a guy who has been on there already, and took him to decision, the only person to take him decision, and that's what I want. Now I trust my coaches and I trust my management, so whatever they decide, I'm cool with. 11-7 sounds pretty damn impressive. It's better than most of the records that's entry level for UFC. And then like I said, I'm eligible in a lot more states than what I was 2 years ago. So something's got to budge.
Well, I have to say, it's funny that you mentioned Robbie Ring because I know that's a guy that you've been wanting to fight for a couple of years. And, he goes to Contender, doesn't work out for him. So he's going to probably need to get a few more fights in before he can think about going up to that next level. And is that something that, hey, maybe run that fight in Aries or somewhere else if he's down for it? Is that something that you're kind of thinking of?
No, he don't want that. He's made it clear he don't want it. I tried to pitch that idea when we both were coming off. I think when I was trying to fight, when I fought Jesse Bozzi and when I came off the Bellator fight, I was wanting to fight him. I was been wanting to fight him. I was been wanting to fight him since Marcus. He was like, no, it's not, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you want to fight Cans. And that's exactly what you do. You fight Cans. You went out there to the Contender Series and got exposed. That was your chance. Hats off to David Evans for actually trying to fight somebody like me before you get all that publicity because that's the name of the game. You at least got to have one tough fight. You can't fight Kansas the entire time. It's not possible. So
I'd be remiss to not ask you it because there's a huge fight that's coming up soon in your weight class. Sean O'Malley going up against Cheeto Vera. Who do you got in that fight?
I really don't like Sean. I don't like.
I don't
Sean.
think I don't think a lot of people do.
I would love to fight Sean. I've told my teammate he got a chance to go out there and cross train with him, and I was like, I want to fight him. Like that's just how it is. Like I want to fight him. I've tried whenever him and Montino, they were trying to get him a fight, and Montino took it. And I was like, you could have got me in there. All right, no. I like Cheeto because if Cheeto changes the way he fights, I think he'd beat Sean O'Malley. If Sean gets off on striking, Sean will win. So right now, I'm saying Sean O'Malley will beat Cheeto as much as hesitant as I am to say that. I can't knock it because Cheeto does start off slow every time.
It certainly seems that way, and that's definitely like a point of reservation that I have when I think about that fight. But I'm also like, but it's a title fight, so 5 rounds. It could happen, but for me, when I look at it, it's like he's gonna have to mix it up. He's gonna I wouldn't just sit there and strike with him for 25 minutes. Like I would try to take him down to the ground.
Yeah, 100%. I would do exactly what he did the first time they fought. Take him down. We all know that everybody says he has a good ground game, but there's one thing of jiu-jitsu whenever there's no punches on the ground, and there's another thing when there is jiu-jitsu with the punches on the ground. Your rank drops every time you take a punch to the face. Every time. If you're not used to it, you will stop doing jiu-jitsu and you'll start going to like scramble mode, like, oh, I gotta get up because I don't like getting hit in the face. So I think the calf kicks on Sean O'Malley would pay dividends, and avoiding his right hand pays a lot for Cheeto, and then taking him down. Because that's all Aljamain didn't do was move his damn head, and he ran right into the cross. So everybody and their mom knew that's what Sean was going to do. That's the only thing he has right now.
So one final question for you. It's a big opportunity. You'll be fighting in the Midwest, and you'll be fighting in front of people that maybe haven't seen you fight before. So it's a huge opportunity for you to just showcase your skills and show Anthony Pettis and all of the other people that are going to be showing up for the fights kind of who you are and what it is that you're about. For all these people that are getting ready to watch you compete for the first time, what's something that they can expect from you when you set foot to the cage here in a couple weeks?
Excitement. Like you don't know exactly what's going to happen. I guess I've never been in a boring fight. Out of 18, well, going on 18 fights, I've never been in a boring fight. Everybody has always been like, oh shit, what's about to happen? They're always on the edge. I've seen people like if I'm on top of the person, I'm seeing people that I've never seen before stand up, and I've heard people who, when I fought in Virginia when he came up there was a lot of people that I never knew, never even seen them before. They was cheering for me, and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, this kid's special.
If there's anyone out there that you'd like to thank before I let you go, let's do it.
All right. So thank you for having me on again. I've been meaning to do this for a while, so thank God we matched up on it. Shout out to all my teammates here at Knoxville Martial Arts Academy, my head coach, Eric Turner, Jason King, my wife and kids, they are there with me, even though I'm being grumpy right now. Well, not as grumpy as I usually am, but still. Fight doctors, they're always nice to me, always taking care of me. My management company, ECB Sports Management, who came on board and immediately jumped on it, we're going to do this thing. So shout out to Ed about that. Money Fight, I think that's it. Money Fight, Takedown Gear. I'm trying to get a sponsorship from them. I'm trying to work on that stuff. Anybody who's ever watched me fight, people at the Anthony Pettis show, everybody, thank you for all having me on, and thank you for supporting me, and all the commissions out there saying yes, thank you for finally understanding that I can do this on my own. And to the commissions that say no, well, you're going to see one way or the other. And in Bellator, if you're listening, I know there's a fight happening that Saturday before my fight. If someone drops out, you know who to call.
Dre, appreciate your time, and I look forward to having you back very soon.